views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
This is Patty Hunter, Patty's Page. Today I have special guests on my Zoom interview. They are Cathy Shouse and Denise Hunter. Thank you for coming on to my show. You both are great authors. I read some of your material. It's beautiful. Thank you for being on my show today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you. I love your work, both of you. It's so different, and yet they're the same in a way, you know. So I'm glad you two are on my show. So I have questions for you, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
Where were both of you born and raised? Who's going to answer?
Cathy, go ahead.
Okay. I was raised on a little farm near Upland, Indiana, which is east central in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of fueled, of course, my cowboy stories.
And Denise?
I was raised in Middletown, Ohio. So down on the southeast side of Ohio, between Dayton and Cincinnati, and was born and raised there and lived there until I was 20. Right after my husband and I got married, 3 months later, we ended up moving to Fort Wayne, Indiana for his job, and we've been there ever since.
Dang, that's good. You guys aren't too far from this old gal here. I'm 72. Anyways, who influenced both of you while you were growing up? Denise?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Who influenced you the most when you were growing up?
I think a lot of people, my parents influenced me a lot. They took me to church from the time I was, from the time I was born, really. I was in the church nursery from baby on.
Yeah.
My mother led me to the Lord when I was just a little thing, and I had very godly grandparents as well, who also had a big influence on me.
A2, Cathy?
Yes. Well, of course, my parents did very salt of the earth kind of people. And also my dad's mother, my grandma, who lived at 101.
Wow.
She taught me piano and crochet and embroidery and just all those good values. And she also would tell me, we are made of a strong constitution. And that just stuck with me.
Love it.
And you, Denise, do you have any siblings, either of you?
I do, actually. I have two sisters and a brother. They all still live in Ohio, so we make regular trips there to see all of our family.
Do they follow your footsteps, like in writing, or?
My siblings, no, not a single writer amongst amongst them.
Well, you're unique. And you, Cathy, how about siblings with you?
Yeah, I've got a brother and a sister, and they're very word oriented. My sister's actually a middle school English teacher. I can't imagine anything more difficult. And then my brother mostly just writes book reviews and things that are very deep. I
like that. You're married with kids and the whole 9 yards?
I'll go ahead and take that. Yes, married for 35 years now.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so we've been together quite a while, and he's actually the inspiration for a lot of my heroes because it works in the home improvement business, and turns out a lot of my heroes end up being handyman or home improvement people, and he's an excellent source for that. Very handy. So yes, and then we had 3 boys together.
Mm,
They're all grown and married, and I now have 4 grandchildren also.
wow. I'm not Jewish, but I'm going to say Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
Kathy, how about you?
Similar length of time marriage. My husband and I have been married 34 years. We have 2 children, grown children. One's 25. We got a late start. One's 25 and one is 30.
You
And
two don't look old enough to have grown children.
be
Thank
careful.
Wonderful.
You're going to become our best friend. Be careful.
It's so funny. I'm not Irish. I can't help myself. Please forgive. Okay. When you started to be interested in writing, why? Which one would like to answer that? What made you interested in writing?
Well, for me, it was just because I was such an avid reader. I was in love with reading, and I think, readers can identify with that. I was the one in study hall with my books stuck in a face and trying to get my homework done just so I can get to my reading, the important things. So for me, it started with the love of reading, and I didn't really start thinking about, hey, can I write a novel? These things that I love to read so much until I was probably 21. And by then I was married. We were getting ready to start a family. I was in college full time as well. And then, I started having kids and just things got busy, and I just kind of pushed it to the back burner like we women often do when we start having kids and it becomes our priority. And it wasn't until we had 2 boys and I got a phone call telling me that my grandfather was about to pass away. And he was one of the people who I mentioned as having an influence on my life. And I just remember sitting there in the hospital room with him, and he was unconscious, but I was just sitting there watching him breathe and thinking about everything he had done for the Lord, and feeling like he can exit this earth and enter heaven knowing that he did what he was called here to do. And I knew that I couldn't say the same for myself. I knew that if I were at the end of my life right then, that I would regret not having ever put that writing dream on the front burner and did something about it. So on the way home, I made a commitment to the Lord that I was going to start that first novel. I had no idea if anything would come from it, but that wasn't really my job. My job was just to do what God told me to do. And so I did. Within a couple of weeks of my grandfather's passing, I started writing that first novel, and somehow a few years later it got published, and it's just been one book after another since then.
Were you taught how to write a novel?
Reading taught me how to write a novel.
Sorry,
I think
you followed, but
you read enough novels and it just kind of, and when I say enough, I mean like a lot of avid readers, thousands and thousands and thousands of novels. It just kind of becomes intrinsic how a plot works and what works character-wise and what doesn't. And the only formal training I had really was all the books that I read on writing novels.
self-taught.
Yeah, I think I'm very much a self-taught person. I did, I went to college and all that. I even had, English classes and writing classes and everything, but honestly, it's the reading and the actual writing that I have learned the most through.
How about you, Kathy?
Very similar to Denise in terms of I just read everything from a very young age. And so that was really the love of it. But I did kind of start early to be a storyteller because I had an out-of-town aunt who lived in California, and I would write her these long letters. And, and this happened, and we did this, and we went here. And I loved doing that. I almost was known for my letter writing. And so it just kind of led to being my high school journalism, um, my the editor of my newspaper when I was in high school, and I got an award for that
Hmm.
out of county and things. And then I don't know, just the seed to write more books. The fiction is what I really loved. And so I decided to go into journalism um, as a second career, actually,
Mhm.
and use what I had learned on the paper. But all the time I was secretly wanting to be a novelist. And so I would interview writers, and Denise is one of the ones that I interviewed very early on.
Oh,
And I,
mercy.
yes, I don't know if she even knows it, but I would like pick people's brains and like, how do you learn and how did you get better and what about this and what about that? And
The
eventually
only way to know it, ask questions, otherwise you don't know.
of people who do it.
Mhm.
And she was obviously doing it. So that inspired me.
Do you consider yourself, uh, what do you call it, teacher, uh, Denise?
Do I consider myself a teacher?
Mhm. You talk with her, she
Um,
interviewed you.
I am open to sharing my experiences. I don't consider myself really a teacher, but I am very open to telling people, how things work for me. It's very different with every writer. Like there's writers who plot things and writers who don't plot at all. And, everybody has different ways of working, and I'm certainly willing to talk to people about that. But
Mhm.
as far as like teaching at conferences and stuff, I'm not so much about that. I feel like, I mean, for myself, just because it requires so much energy and time, I don't want to take that time away from my writing in order to do that.
Well, it would be nice if you can do like a video or something, just out of the blue, or get it structured and show people how you can do it. Just give them like a basic outline on how to be a writer.
Yeah, I would, that would be something that I would be open for.
And Cathy,
Well, I've got to make a comment on Denise because I consider her a mentor. And I think she does that wonderfully. So I think I've seen her at conferences, and I know for myself that if I do have, what about this, then she's more than open and willing. And in some ways, I feel like that's as good or better than a teacher because sometimes you just need that little push.
well, Denise, I find, is very patient as well as outgoing and very compassionate to what she is doing with her career and helping others. That's what I feel from her.
I am certainly, I understand a lot of writer struggles because I've been writing for so long and I've been in the industry for so long, and it is such a tough industry. It's so competitive, and its longevity is really, really hard. And I I would always be willing to share my experiences with other writers who are coming up. Because it can be a lonely thing to do if you don't have people to talk to and people to ask questions and get advice from.
That's the only way to find out. Like there's books on about people who are writers or singers and all. They have their own books or something to show people how their experience made them get up there, and win awards and be recognized and all that. Speaking about that, did any of you guys win awards? Be recognized? Do tell.
But Kathy,
Oh, Denise. Um, I have had, I was named several years ago when I first started this, a Midwest Writers Workshop fiction fellow. And they like sent us for a day and a half to get more training in fiction. And that was by entry, that you had to send them a writing sample. And like 75 people had the opportunity. And then I also just lately in 2022, I think, received the Women's Press Club of Indiana I got a scholarship from them, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
was, it was all, they're a good group. It was also based on an essay that I wrote. And
What
they
was
all,
that about the essay?
and I entered one of my articles, and I also got an award with them too. So being independent, it's not like a newspaper enters things for me, but I've gotten a few things.
That's
Spot
terrific,
on.
Kat. I think, especially early on in your career, some of those awards can be such a validation. I know, you've gotten journalism awards, but then when you move to fiction, it's like a totally new thing, and you can be uncertain of yourself. It's different. Writing fiction is different than writing a newspaper article. Both are challenging, but they're just very different. So I think early on, those award wins can really motivate you and validate you and give you the confidence to keep going. I've been very fortunate to win some awards, but honestly, the things that are most meaningful to me are the letters that I get from readers when they write and tell me, even if it's just your book really took my mind away from my husband's going through chemo, and it allowed me to escape for a little while. I mean, that makes me feel great, even though it's, I didn't change their world or anything or change them as a person, but I gave them that time away from their problems. So I think it's the reader letters even more so than the awards that kind of just really motivate and validate what I do.
Now, I understand that Hallmark is doing something with something of your novels. Which one of your books are they doing or have done?
Right. So they have already been done. I've had 3 books adapted into Hallmark movies.
Oh, yeah.
For, The Convenient Groom, Christmas on My Mind was the name of the Hallmark movie, and A December Bride. All of those came through my publisher. People are often interested in, how those come about. So my publisher has a rights team that actively pitches their novels to producers.
Right.
And one particular producer took a liking to my work, and she is the same producer for all 3 movies.
Mm.
2 of the movies I got to go on set in Vancouver with my husband, and we were offered the chance to do a cameo on those 2 movies.
Oh,
So Christmas on My Mind and A December Bride, my husband and I have a cameo in those. So that was super fun, and every author's dream, I think, and lived up to everything I ever dreamed it might be.
so when you write these books, you two, where do you get your ideas to the imagination? What sparks it, your books?
Cathy, you want to take that one first?
Oh, sure. The Sometimes I do get them from newspaper stories I read about, or even personal stories, or when I'm reading someone else's novel, sometimes that will give me ideas. And so I have certain scenes that I work on, like the meet cute. I always try to have a meet in a cute way and stuff like that. So I kind of think through how people could meet and that type of thing.
Now, the theme of your, Denise, of your books, what's the genre of it or the style?
I write contemporary small town romance. I have a lot of women's fiction type elements in my story. I like to go a little deeper than your ordinary romance novel because I feel like we all have issues to work through, and I like to give my heroines and my heroes issues that are keeping them from having a healthy relationship with someone, because I think a lot of us deal with different things, either fear of intimacy or lack of trust or abandonment issues and so forth, that can prevent us from having a good, healthy relationship with a person. So I like to deal with that sort of thing in order to help readers, really, and even myself sometimes. Sometimes I choose something, an issue that I need to work through, need to examine a little more closely. And when I'm writing, I can help my heroine through it. And in that way, I'm also helping myself through it.
It's like therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You too, Kathy? Your
Uh,
theme, Western? What?
Yes, although I'm surprised at how similar in a way Denise and I are, because mine is absolutely small town as well. And it's kind of what I call Midwest values.
Mm.
And, like the cowboys, they value the land and the property and the um, family and community and things like that. And I as well have them dealing with issues. I've dealt with infertility in mine, in kind of borderline attention deficit
Yeah.
order. And actually, in my first book, the person has a hearing impairment. So they're having trouble hearing, and we just go through their life and how they cope with that. It's huge. That was also one of my most popular news stories I wrote, was when I actually got hearing aids, and I shared the steps of doing that. And we just got so much mail, and that appeared in the Saturday Evening Post and also Indianapolis Monthly Magazine.
Wow.
So I definitely see themes carried from one to the other. Journalism, sometimes I'll interview such an interesting person that I'll think they would make a good novel character, and I'll just kind of format it that way. I also, since I began with journalism and now still,
Mhm.
sometimes if I'm not sure what to write or struggling, I mean, I'll pray, please help this reach whoever needs to be reached. Help my words to be what you would say to them. And, it's and it moves me. And I've had people say that we really like the spiritual thread in your story or whatever.
But yeah, I agree. I agree. You got both of you have great themes, genres. Do you have characters go through all your series? How many books you have done? I don't know.
I've written quite a few series. What I generally do with a series is I will take a family or a group of friends and there will be 3 or 4 of them. And if there are 3 of them, there are 3 books or 4 books, each featuring one of those people. So each person finds their love story in their own book, but all 3 or 4 characters will be in the whole series.
Yeah, the characters are right. Sorry. I'm a character myself. I mean, anyways, you, Kathy, the people that are in your books, are they, do they go through all your books? Or
I'm
you
really,
do
I'm really
separate?
doing the same as Denise does. Um, and of course, that first book, when that first couple is introduced,
Mhm.
then we get to know them in depth. Everything's from their point of view.
Mm.
And they're always, I don't do cliffhangers, but they're always little threads, and people will even write me and say, well, whatever happened to, Ted and Elizabeth, who were kind of making eyes at each other over the table.
Uh-huh.
And then now
You write them in.
I'm just about ready to add them, but it'll be a totally new story.
Mm.
And Elizabeth and Ted are going to make a reappearance. So,
Right, you're just setting up the next story.
You just heard it here.
yes, yes.
So, you won awards, both of you. How many, okay, how many books have you done, Denise?
On September 10th, my 46th book will release.
Howard to you, girl. How about you, Kathy?
I'm on just 5. I've done 5.
That's good.
Yes, and
You're also in a magazine, aren't you?
yes,
What?
And thousands of articles.
Mhm.
really. But currently, what I'm writing steadily is at Senior Life of Fort Wayne and also Glow Magazine of Fort
Well, I
Wayne.
used to get sometimes, yeah, they're pretty good.
We think
So
so.
when you're doing the magazine, was it senior? No, wait a minute. What is
Yes,
Senior Fort Wayne or something?
Senior Life.
Senior Life, okay. Uh, where do you get the articles? Is it faith-based Or what?
Well, they have different departments,
Mhm.
and my editor will assign me, you're going to do the faith one this time. Sometimes she'll say, here's someone we suggest that you interview. Sometimes I'll have to go find them. And so I've just developed kind of a network, and Denise is one of them, where, if I need a faith person and I'm not coming up with anyone, I'll say, Denise, do you know anyone, who's doing something of faith that I could write about? And so I've really kind of developed friendships even that way. I hope they're friends because I need them.
Well,
Well, one
with,
stands a deadline like another writer, right?
Yes,
with
yes.
me, I look on Facebook or other sites of people that I have been interested who helps the community one way or the other around the world. So I pick them, and they sometimes say yes, and they sometimes say no. But over 15 seasons,
I'm just saying, wow, because I know what I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be constantly looking for people. And, I even reached out to you and said, could I ever write about you? So, but everyone has a story. And
I have a story. I got a story.
and occasionally someone will say, well, I don't think there's anything you could write about with me. I'll say, oh, yes, there is.
Oh, yes, there is. Yeah, you too. How'd you meet to go on tour and that? Where are you going anyways? For signing books and
I'm not sure if you're referring to the book tour I did in July with Colleen Coble and Rick Acker. We did a tour through the South, 9 days, 13 stops. I don't know. It's all a blur now, honestly. But Cathy and I are doing a book signing in Fort Wayne at the Barnes and Noble at Orchard Crossing at 2:00, and we're doing a little talk beforehand. So,
and that is on the 14th of September.
that's right.
Yes, and I have something to surprise Denise with because I still have the first article that you were ever in that I wrote. And so I know the day that I met you or the day that was published. So it would have been ahead of time. November 5th, 2005.
Oh my goodness. Has it been that long?
Oh, my stars.
I was a writer and she was an aspiring, she was a novelist, and Colleen Coble was there, and also their mutual friend, Diane Hunt.
I interviewed Colleen herself many moons ago in 2016. I should send that to you. I don't know whether I already have or not, but it was a good one. So we got to sign off. My stars. We should have you back on again. Oh, you guys are so great. I like talking to you. I like to pick brains, It's so fun. Thank you, Denise, for being on my show.
Thank you, Patty. I had a great time.
And thank you. And you, Cathy Shouse.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
God bless. And you people, we'll see you next week, and may your week be blessed. Amen. Catch you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us always and for the rest of all our lives.